What do you see as significant, as you look back in your career, significant things that you were involved with?
Well, probably the product that I am still most proud of is the one that taught me the value of understanding the customer's business better than the customer understands it, and that was a modulator that we designed back in the mid-70s at SA.
The 6350?
The 6350 modulator, yes.
I remember that.
You did, and that's the correct model number. Alex Best and I were the two design engineers on that. We were just given the task. We had designed this new packaging system for electronics, and we had an older modulator. The only instructions we were given from management was to take our old modulator and repackage it in the new packaging. Well, we sat around like engineers do and said, we've been in a lot of head ends, we've talked to a lot of people, we've read a lot of articles. What are the problems people are having that we might solve with a product like this? And we went on to list a number of things that were new to the industry that nobody understood and nobody had really thought about solving the problems. So we came up with this list of things we could put in a modulator. Well, we knew, even as young engineers, we knew that we couldn't really go ask for the money to design these options beyond what we'd been told to build without some sort of customer survey that said the customers wanted them. Well, we didn't have a marketing department. I was young. I didn't know what I was doing. So I did probably the most stupid marketing survey that's ever been done. I just ginned up a page-and-a-half list that listed the options we were thinking of without explaining them. Sent it to our 7 field salespeople. Said, go sit down and talk to your customers and send me back their reactions to this. One person said, well, if you do this option, make sure it works a particular way. And he was right. It's something we'd thought of, but he was correct. The other one said, looks good to me. That's all the response we got back from the thing. So we knew better, at least we had enough sense to know better than to go to management and ask for money to do these extra things with no more customer survey than that. So we bootlegged it. And management didn't know what we were doing until they went to a show and we were demonstrating all of these things. It was a little bit too late to shut us down at that point.
Right.
Now, the way people structure companies today with marketing departments and frequent feedback with the design engineers, you'd never get away with that.
Yeah.
But back then, we didn't have all of those things. And we could have been fired over it, but it so happened that we were right. Those things did catch on. I spent the next year and a half going out and explaining to people how to use it. But it did catch on, and because of that, we wound up taking over the analog head-end market.
Yeah, no, I recall, because Cattell and Scientific Atlanta in the mid-'70s were pretty on par, right? But that was the difference that made SA go.
Yeah, and we wound up taking over the market, and it was because we took time to understand our customer's business better than the customer understood his business. Now, whether you could even make that work today, I don't know. We used to, in later years at SA, we would have meetings where we'd say, well, we need this control and that control, and we'd walk out of the meetings and say, it seems like this is the right thing to do, but if we'd had this way back when, the 6350 would have never happened. We would have been way too smart to let 2 young renegade engineers go off and design something that was so far out of what any customers were telling us they wanted.
Well, and that leads to the question of, as a young engineer, if you were a young engineer today, what advice would you give them?
It's interesting. I feel blessed that I have been in the early stages of 2 different related industries in telecommunications, cable TV and fiber to the home. Not from the beginning of cable TV, but fairly soon after that, and right at the beginning of fiber to the home. But I think while there is still progress being made in those industries, while there's still new things happening, I think I would give an engineer today, a young engineer coming out, look seriously at medical electronics or energy, because I think there's a good future in those areas. Telecom has been really good to me, and if I had it to do all over again, coming into it when I did, knowing what I know now, I'd pretty much do the same thing. But I think I'd tell people today, look seriously at energy and medical electronics as fields where there is still the kind of innovation waiting to happen that has happened in telecommunications.
That makes sense, and it also leads to the whole idea of what you were talking about a little bit earlier about, you know, these zany two engineers creating their own product within a bigger organization. Well, eventually you left that organization, which went on to become part of Cisco, but you were involved in the starting of another company in another kind of related industry.
The first venture was a company called ESP that I had gotten into a few months after it started. A friend of mine who left SA had started it. And he would come up to me occasionally. We went to the same church, and he'd come up to me at times and say, well, it was a good month. I got paid. So a couple of months later, when he talked me into joining him, I come home and I tell my wife that I'm joining them from SA, and we've got a kid starting college in just a month or two, and she looks at me like I'm totally out of my mind. But it turned out that it did real well. We sold it to Antec, and so I stayed on with Antec for about 6 years. And in 2000, I left them and joined some friends, and starting Wave 7 Optics was a very, very early company in fiber to the home. But that's worked out well. We've had some rough times. You expect that with anything new. We're now part of Aurora, or they are. I'm officially retired, but they still let me come back occasionally. And I like to go by the office, and we're working on this book, and I have to go by for that. And I like to chat with people. As somebody else said, don't miss the rat race, but I sure do miss the rats.
Well, and you just you said something, I want to touch upon a little bit more, a book. So you're retired, but you are working on this book.
Yes, I don't know, Ken, why I did this, but Brian Lane, one of our product managers at the Wave 7 group at Aurora, a good friend of mine, let me talked me into working with him on a book on the technology, practical applications. I don't know why I ever let him talk me into that. I've done books before. I know how much trouble it is. I know what I'm getting into, and still I let him do it. We have a publisher. It'll come out under Elsevier, Morgan Kaufman, and so we're working on this book, and I'll be going home this evening, and I'll be banging on the computer until I can't see the screen anymore. And then I'll go to sleep for a while, and I'll get up tomorrow and do it again.
Well, you know, it'll be like your other books, I'm sure. It'll be a resource to the industry, and it seems like timing-wise, you know, for the Society of Cable Telecommunications Engineers, this is a great time.
Well, I hope so. There are books out there on the topic already, but they mostly concentrate on either why to do it, the very low technical level, or the details of one particular technology, EPON or GPON. But what we want to do is to give people the practical, here's how you configure the system for optimum performance, but we want to give enough theory at the same time that you understand why, and you can encounter, or you can handle those unusual cases you come up with where, well, it didn't work quite like they said in the book, but we want to give enough theoretical background you can understand why and logically work through to a solution.
Well, super. So we'll still see you then at these events, I hope, and hopefully I'll get a chance to review the book.
Well, I hope so. I hope so very much. I do like being part of the industry. It's been a fantastic ride, but I hope it's not over yet.
Well, Jim, congratulations and thank you.
Thanks. Enjoyed it.